Now, for several weeks, music fans around the world have been pondering whether this sounds like this. This week, a very high-profile court case ruled that Ed Sheeran's hit song Shape of You hadn't been stolen from another song by the grime artist Sammy Switch. Speaking to the BBC since the ruling, Sheeran has talked about the strain the case put on him and also says he's taken to filming his songwriting process in an attempt to protect against future action. Well, Professor Joe Bennett is a forensic musicologist who works at Berklee College of Music in the United States. He's an expert on what makes a song unique and has worked as an expert witness on similar cases in the past. I asked him if filming the songwriting process like this is likely to become more common now.
The simple answer is yes. I think it's going to be quite likely that songwriters are going to want to do more and more to protect themselves because certainly to a lot of the songwriters I spoke to about this case while it was ongoing, they said it was very obviously coincidence that such a simple melodic lick could have been created independently by two separate people without the later composer needing to hear or have access to the earlier one's work, because it's just a one bar rising minor pentatonic lick. So I think Ed Sheeran was rightly a little upset that so much time and money had been wasted on an accusation that was always spurious, and in my opinion that was pretty clear from the get-go.
We've heard an awful lot about this case, a lot reported about the details that they went through in court. This presumably isn't something a songwriter wants to do, to talk about the in-depth creative process in front of an audience.
Well, right, and this is something that I've looked into at some length. My own academic research largely involves interviews and observation of collaborative songwriters as they work, and the process can be very varied and scattered, and people go up a lot of creative blind alleys and abandon ideas and replace them with new ones. Sometimes random things happen in the co-writing process that can turn into creative gold if the team really falls in love with an idea and decides to pursue it. And I'm not sure that a lot of songwriters would be fully comfortable pulling back the curtain to reveal all of the mechanics of the creative process, because I'm not sure listeners even want that. You know, I think there's a good argument that people just want to be moved by the finished product rather than seeing how it's made.
This is quite a big part of the music business these days, and these claims, it has to be said, generally come around when there has been something that has been a big hit and has earned a lot of money.
Yeah, and it is true to say that the vast majority of music copyright infringement litigation cases, both in the UK and the US, in the US actually going back to 1844, are in pop music as opposed to classical music, simply because that's where the money is, so that, you know, the later work is more likely to have made money, but also because popular music is a constrained art form. You know, songs tend to be in one key, they're within a given range of tempos and forms and time signatures, regardless of things we associate with different genres. There are some things that most popular songs have in common, and one of them is simple, short, melodic, catchy phrases. And isn't it interesting how so many of these copyright infringement cases that we see deal with fragmentary melodic similarity?
So just a little snippet of a track.
Bars. Right. And one question that I think isn't asked loudly enough in the analysis of these cases is, why would they? What is the incentive for a successful commercial songwriting team to go raiding melodic fragments from prior work?
And I suppose the question in some ways is, where does an influence end and where does plagiarism begin? I mean, most of modern R&B music owes a lot to soul and gospel music that's gone before. Rock and roll goes back to blues and other forms before that. Everyone, in a way, who is a songwriter has built on things that have gone before.
Absolutely. And songwriting is a partly self-referential art form. You know, we talk at Berklee College of Music, where I teach forensic musicology, we talk about song craft. Those elements of craft do transfer pretty well between genres, but when we hear genre and style in music, a lot of the time we're talking about production, instrumentation, production styles, the way things are recorded, particular tempos and grooves that we associate with styles of music. And part of the role of a forensic musicologist is to pull apart those elements that are literally generic and those elements that are specific to the earlier song and unique in the history of all music and therefore protectable by copyright.
Professor Joe Bennett from the Berklee College of Music there. And that's about it from this edition of World Business Report. More online 24/7 at bbc.com/news. But from me, David Harper, and all of the team, thank you for joining us.